Okay, you can probably see what's going on in here. That's the Spintron room, and we're making a lot of progress right here. What you're looking at is the cutaway of the valve cover, because there's a high-speed camera sitting right there. It's going to shoot some video, and we'll be able to look at that here shortly. Here, we're going to spin it up again. So what we just did was we changed the valve spring. We already found a valve spring sitting around Ben's shop here that essentially worked a lot better than what was on the motor, just by luck, I suppose, probably calculated luck. And it's what it's going to do. It's going to allow us to spin the motor up even higher to 9,250 RPMs probably now. Even though that's not our ultimate goal, is to not make a 9,200 RPM motor, but it's going to show us what it's capable of if we have to go that far. In there, we're also looking at other things that are happening here as it goes through. We've been struggling with the duration of the camshaft getting smaller through a certain range, meaning like the valve's opening up later and it's closing time, the duration in between there is essentially been shortened as much as 11 degrees. So what we're trying to do is make this thing more comfortable to follow the camshaft and keep the duration the way the lobe was designed by the engineer of the camshaft. So with that said, what we're going to do is we're going to fire this baby up, and you can watch in there, and you can also watch on the screen, and as the motor's spinning, and everybody get some good video.
This one will be quite a bit more rapid, since I didn't want to have a lot of time for oil to be going everywhere, so we're going to accelerate up pretty quickly, stay there for 3 seconds, and hopefully come back all the way in one piece. Everybody ready?
No. Okay.
Just double check what I got here. Okay, ready? Here we go. Dude, that's nice.
9,000...
9250.
9,250 RPMs.
Yep.
And then this is exactly what just happened in slow motion, right?
Yep. Look how much more calm that spring is at 9250 than the other one was at 8500.
Yeah, just kind of sitting there like, hey, kind of give me something here.
Yeah. But see how smooth the engine sounded as well? Like, it just didn't care. It would sit there at 9250. And
it did sound like that. It's amazing how much the top of the valve is working around.
Yeah, that always surprises people. But we're talking about an engine that used to sort of lay over and get upset at 7,800. We're now going at 9,500, and we haven't even fixed all of the problems yet.
Correct.
I think we're going to be okay.
Wow, what a huge improvement.
Yeah, pretty cool.
So this is a dual valve spring versus a triple. And our seat pressure when we first began was at essentially 575, and now we're down like 405.
Yep.
And we had, what, 1,300 and change over the nose?
Yep.
Now it's 1,100 flat.
That's right. So we've taken 200 pounds over the nose off of it and 170 or 75 pounds off the seat. But more importantly, we also changed the total mass the spring has to support, because some of that mass comes from the spring itself. We have a smaller, lighter retainer. Everything's just getting easier now that we're taking all that stress out of the system.
And more comfortable, and that's direct reflection of why it sounds so smooth at 9,000 RPMs.
Absolutely, that's exactly right.
And if you can recall, if you want to go back into our older videos of when we first spun it up as it sat Las Vegas style, and we're actually going to video what's happening inside the Sorceress motor as it was built back in Vegas 7 months ago. So we found all the same pieces, put them all back in the engine, and we're going to do some high-speed camera video work, and we're going to show you in a second what that is all about. And we're going to see what's happening in here. So this camera is a special camera. It shoots a lot of frames per second. So when you look at this, it's going to be in slow motion, but we're actually running the motor up to 8,500 RPMs. We'll be able to see what's happening, if anything, with the rocker arm, the retainer, the keeper, the spring, the cups, all that. So we're going to watch that real quick.
Here we go. Hold on to your hats.
Wow.
Yeah, it doesn't start bouncing at all. Now that's the old springs, right?
Yeah.
Yes. That's Las Vegas. That's the way the engine is running.
It's crazy how much oil's in there.
Yeah.
So this video here that you're seeing, is this, what RPM is this actually at here, Ben?
So that's at 8,500 RPM, filmed at 4,157 frames per second. So you're seeing, you know, I can slow it down and you can watch the motion closer if you want, but seeing pretty much what just happened right there. So it's amazing how much the spring stays in motion even though the cam's not asking it to. And that's just a function of how heavy the spring is, the wire diameter, the pitch coil rate of the spring, and you know how much, what its natural frequency is. It's a spring. You hit it and it sits there and vibrates. And so if you look at this again, Rod, let's show them what we're seeing here. So when these coils are moving up and down, if you were to put a load scale, say like your bathroom scale, underneath that spring, every time this spring is moving up away from that scale, we're losing load on the seat. So while the engine's running, the actual seat pressure holding that retainer up is going up and down in a sine wave that's based on the frequency of the spring. So what we have to do is make sure that the spring isn't coming up and reducing our load at the same time the valve is trying to get on the seat and stay put. And so for each RPM, the frequency that the valve is opening and closing is changing, and the frequency of the spring is going up and down with it. We got to make sure those stay away from each other. So that's why when we go to the other valve spring and we change the wire diameter and the rate and all that stuff, what we're truly trying to do there is change the frequency that the spring is vibrating at.
Fantastic, and how exciting that, because we already know that we're going to choose a different valve spring, and we're going to do another video later on with that in there, so you guys stay tuned. And this is Las Vegas, the engine running at 8,500 RPMs going on the track.
Yep.
And we do have a lot of oil in there. This is the same oil that we use in the race engine, and we're using the same oil pressure. We just cut the top of the valve cover off so you can watch in here, and we're going to weld it back together. So when he commented about the oil in there, is it something that we want to talk about in the future? Perhaps, but what we tried to do was utilize some of the oil, or extra oil, if you will, on the top side to keep things cooler, because as you recall, the Sorceress just doesn't run at 5 seconds
Hold on
at a time.
I just saw something interesting. We got to slow this down.
Okay.
Take a look at the lash cap when it comes back to the seat right now. See the lash cap come up?
Yeah.
Okay, let's watch that again.
The retainer is going to stop, and then your rocker arm is going to come up and have lash, and the lash cap's coming off of the top of the valve.
That little bump right there.
Yeah. I just noticed it as you were talking. Sorry to interrupt you.
That's
fascinating.
That is exactly why we're doing this.
Yeah.
It's so violent that it's unloading the.
Use a Ferrara locking.
Yeah, like a
Stop
captured.
They make those. Yeah.
Yep.
So this is the data that we're after.
Yeah. Yeah, you can
Just
see
seen it.
every
I just
time.
seen it right there.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what we want to do is get a spring that vibrates at a higher frequency, so those coils won't be moving around so much. That's what we really want to get to.
Or another way of saying, if they're going to move around, they're going to do it at 10,000 RPMs, not at 8,500.
Where we never plan on going.
Correct.
That's really the key. We're never going to have a spring that doesn't do that. The key is to get it to be doing that at some other RPM that we don't want to
That we
use.
won't see in our RPM band.
Yeah, pretty
Very
cool.
good. Awesome stuff. It felt like we wanted to leave the room and turn the motor off at 8,200 because it just felt like it was total destruction. And it was, and that's exactly what's happening to us in Vegas. So it's not really a surprise.
No.
But wait till you see what's going to happen next, because Cam whipped up a camshaft for us. They want us to try.
2 of them.
And that, two different
2 of
ones.
them,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, of course. Just what we needed. More candy.
Everybody ready to go?
All right.
You got your thumb on the button. You're on the nuclear football button.
Ready.
Here we go. Dude, go race this thing.
Yeah. At 9,250 RPMs. Is that an LS in there, or what is that?
I think
Is
so.
that-
Yeah, they're the only things that run that good.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, look at that. Look at the blue line.
Wow, it's just there.
Just look at the shape of your curve
Yeah.
in 9250. Let's go down here. Yeah, let me look up here. Alright, so we're gonna make this our reference and we'll show it. And as we go up, no problem. It will sit at 9250 until we get tired of listening to it. At least the exhaust will, right? I mean, but dude, once we fix this up a little bit more, get a little stiffness in the rocker arm, this thing's on fire. Look at our duration there, 274 to 283. So we're still better than we were by 2 or 3 degrees. Yeah. And we haven't even made anything stiffer yet. All we did was take the valve spring out of it.
Well, let's look at it at 8,200 RPMs.
Okay.
Is it there?
277.
So.
And it was so what are we, 284 to 277 is 7 degrees, and we were 12 or 13 before?
Yes, so it's actually 5 or 6 better.
So we're 6 degrees. So we literally have half as much loss of duration at 9250 as we had before at 7,800, 7,900, 8,000, somewhere?
7,800.
Yeah. So we've already improved that much, and we haven't even made it stiffer yet.
Correct.
It's pretty cool.
That's really awesome.
And more than that, just the shape is so smooth and symmetrical.
And that's why it sounds like it sounds so good.
Totally.
You know what? I need to dig around more of your garbage cans and find more stuff that's laying on your bench, Trader.
Some old used parts.
So yeah, let me see what I can dig up in my bag of tricks here, you know what I mean?
These are all leftover parts from my Spinal Tap project, so they're not even kind of taxed yet. They go like 11.3, no problem. We took them to 11.7 at Comp Cams on their Spintron, so 9,200 is like our warm-up speed. You know, that's like where we start the dyno pole.
Well, it was where you started the Spinal Tap.
Yeah, we literally started the dyno pole at 9,200.
Yes,
so.
that's right.
So these things are just loafing right here. This is pretty magic. And wait till we get the new camshafts that'll be even gentler and easier, and this is starting to be fun.
It is. You know, we've talked about the sound and the harmonics on this thing. What I did not notice now is that odd ticking or knocking.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's gone. I don't know if it's gone or if it's just masked and it's just consistently all of them are doing it, but throughout that whole thing it just felt like music all the way through. It didn't feel like
scary at all.
It didn't feel upset anywhere.
Can I go higher?
If you're a good boy, we'll let you go higher tomorrow. So
tomorrow when we get the new camshaft, we'll go to probably 97 or 10,000 with this thing.
It would be good to know that, because we can essentially at times run it up to 9,000 if there's the combinations right there. So
yeah,
we just got so much rear end gear to keep it down right now, and of course you know what happens then. So
yeah, so you know we can use the turbos better. Shane will be able to make the tune-up more aggressive and not worry about the valvetrain. But just look at the shape compared to what we had the other day. How smooth and reliable this shape is versus how ugly and out of funkiness that.
It was telling you wasn't happy.
It was screaming it. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I'm very happy so far.
Very good. That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, guys, I wanted to give you a little insight on what we've been working on. So we've already made a ton of progress on the Sorceress engine by messing around with valve springs. We took this big giant thing out. We put this thing in. That helped us a ton with all the bending and deflection. But we were still having a lot of trouble because the existing camshaft was so aggressive and it was making that bending and deflection worse. So we got some new camshafts made. LSM made the cores for us, and then we got Comp Cams to make special grinds just for the Sorceress. I want to put that into perspective for you just to show you what we're dealing with here on this Sorceress project. Here's what we have as a race version of a typical LS camshaft, 55mm journal. You know, this thing's probably in the 800 or 850 lift range for at the valve. Now this is the new Ford Godzilla V8. It's quite a bit bigger than a typical LS at 60mm journals. But then we've got the Sorceress. This is a 65mm journal, an inch 500 barrel. Look at the difference in the stiffness of the barrel here as we go up. And so what we're trying to accomplish is keep the engine as stiff and keep the bending away as much as possible, but also designed ramps that are slower and smoother reacting so that it doesn't want to bend the rocker arms and stuff. The combination of that with the softer and more gentle springs on there should help a bunch. Now the last thing we're going to try is to take those little push rods out and put some that are a little bit thicker in there, again, to try to get more stiffness in the system. I think if we can do all this, we'll easily be able to go over 10,000 RPM.
This will be a 10,000 RPM, correct?
Yep,
okay.
10,000 RPM.
This will be a 10,000 RPM video, so here we go.
All right. Yeah, just got to bump it a little bit so it'll get off of that spring. Come on, baby.
We only have like 405 on the seat right now, right?
Yeah.
There it goes.
Look at all
That's
that oil
really
and
cool.
smoke everywhere.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That's really cool.
Go when you're ready.
So here we go, 10,000 RPM Sorceress engine. Damn, that's loud. Oh my gosh, I can't believe if it was running how loud it'd be. Holy smokes.
That's pretty awesome right there.
That is crazy.
It's unbelievable how much noise the engine makes.
Blew all the popcorn right out of the tub.
Let me get some data here. That's the first time that's ever been to, to that RPM ever, right? Like,
Yeah, truly, yeah.
Let's see what we got to. Okay, good. So I got the record, 10,102.
Super duper. We have a winner, ladies and gentlemen.
So you can see here, there is a little bit of a drop, right about at 10,000. See the duration take a hit right there? Like, it's kind of working its way down, and all of a sudden it kind of goes boom. That's sort of an indicator that, like, all right, now we need to pay attention. It's not terrible. It's truly not bad. We don't have this big, crazy looking thing. We don't need to run the engine to 10,000, but now we know we can. Look at no valve bounce at all. Like maybe, hang on a second. Let me get rid of this. So we're not looking at two graphs at once. But really nothing for bounce. Maybe just a skosh there at 9,800. I'm going to go down and see if I can get it. Yeah, it's got about just under 5 thousandths of valve bounce, which is, frankly, on a valve that's 2,600 diameter, that's nothing. Like,
no, this is the exhaust valve.
oh, you're right. It's a 2-inch
Yeah.
exhaust valve. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're probably getting 80 or 100 thou bounce then on the intake. We just don't know it. I'm just
Yeah.
just kidding. No, honestly, that is an absolute home run. For Billy Godbold, thank you for all the work you put into designing the smoother profile. The guy just knows what to do. You know what I mean? Like he just looks at the data and says, all right, hold my beer. I know what to do, and
Right.
it's just awesome. Like to be able to go from got here on Monday and here we are on Thursday, right? We got here on Monday.
I don't think the camshaft's even a full 24 hours old because he was
It's not.
texting. Right.
Yeah, it's not. They were
It's-
literally grinding this at this time yesterday afternoon, and then about an hour later than that, I got a text from Billy, and he said, the cams just finished QC. We're dipping them in oil. They're going to go in the box. We have the truck waiting because they have to take them from the grind shop there in Memphis. They have to go down to Olive Branch, Mississippi to be shipped out. So he said, we literally held the truck for you. It's full of everybody else's stuff. We're waiting on Rod. And as soon as these cams are done, we're slamming them in the truck. And today we have them in our hands, and we just turned it 10,000 RPM. So I would never, ever have tried that with the other cam that was in here.
Oh, no, we were ready to leave the room at 7,200 it
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
I mean, that was loud, but it wasn't scary. It was awesome.
Yeah. So I did hold up a still photograph of that step at 7,200. We
7,800.
strike that. Yeah, 7,800. So at like 5,600, there was another bobble in there. I didn't screenshot that part. We were already seeing a harmonic problem already developing at that time. It was a very clear thing. So it was never happy, never friendly at anywhere point. I mean, maybe if you ran it as a 4,000 RPM fork truck, it'd probably be okay. But
Right.
that's all we need to do.
Yeah.
We just need to run a 2-to-1 rear end ratio is what we need to do.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're far from perfect, but just look at how good the closing side is here at 9,000 RPM. You know what I mean? Like, absolutely smooth as butter. We still haven't fixed all of our bending here, and we're not going to with that rocker stand. Until we get the new rocker stand, the new push rod, that's not going to go away, no matter how
That'll be a
slowly-
fun back-to-back there, won't it?
Absolutely. No matter how slowly we try to open that valve, and no matter how much spring we take off of it, you're really not going to get rid of that for now. But that's okay. We're still miles better than this thing was on Monday.
So Ben Strader, if I could ask a question, because is it the exhaust stand that cantilevers over?
Yes, it is.
So the intake actually does have a little bit more clamping force to it. It might be a little bit more stable. So we could inherently say that it could possibly be, if we look back to the intake information, we might see less. So we could like derive the fact that a certain percentage is directly in the stand because we'd have a direct comparison to it, right?
Yeah, so let's see if we can take a look here. I'm just going to pick a spot in duration here. So let's come to where, let's pick an RPM here.
7338.
So let's go to 7,800 or 8,000 where we were having trouble before. How's that? Is that
7,800. There you go.
I'm going to be 78 as close as I can.
Boom, right there. Yeah, it's 7811. That's what you get.
All right, 7850. So if we come to a specific, value here, let's say at 100 and, minus 150 degrees from TDC, I'm going to zoom in here. We've got about 43, the difference in lift at that spot is about 43 thousandths. So that's all on the opening side that we're losing that. Now keep in mind, we have 43 thousandths less lift, but look, by the time it gets up here, so I'm going to remember 150. By the time it gets up here, oh shoot, where were we? 78, 50. 50.
Boom. Oh, got it.
Okay. So over here at 150, let's go back to our spot here. I'll zoom in a little bit. So I'm 150 degrees before TDC here. All right, so we're losing 43 thousandths. We have 43 thousandths less lift here than we have when we're at 1,000 RPM. But notice, by the time you get up here, you've got 18 thousandths more lift than you had because that's our diving board that's happening there. So let's go see what the intake side looked like from those other runs at the same 7850.
Yes.
So 43 thou. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and see.
Now, what we have to qualify here, this would be an intake with the old camshaft in it. This would not be a comp cams. We have not
That's
lasered the intake valve.
Yep.
So we do have a couple of qualifiers.
280. So let me just open it up and make sure that I'm looking at the right one here. It'll take whatever cycle you're on, the current cycle, it'll make it purple. And then as you scroll through, it will then put your new one on top of that. So let's find 7850 here. It's probably somewhere right in here, I'd say. 7849 is probably the closest I can get. I don't know if that's close enough for your guys' taste or not, but all right. So now let's see what we had there at that same 150 before. Looks like we were only about 28.8. So we were 43 thousandths lost on the exhaust side, and we're 28.8, so call it 29.
So we could extrapolate the fact that the stiffness, the difference between that, because this is less.
Yeah, but here's the deal. It's better than that even, because the opening ramp on the exhaust is extremely smooth and slow, because on the exhaust side, you also have to fight the fact that you're trying to push it open into that cylinder pressure.
Yes.
And so if you were to look at the shape of the ramp on the exhaust side, it's actually way more gentle than the intake side.
Okay.
And so even with that extra force on the intake side, we're still a solid, whatever that is, dozen or so points better with that big giant intake valve. So same thing that we're still getting loft over here. So if we look there, we're 20 or 18 down, and we're plus 30 over here, 37 even. And that's mostly because of the inertia of the valve. You have a big intake valve, so it's hard to stop that thing when you get over the nose. The exhaust valve is a 2-inch valve. This is a 2/600 valve. It just weighs a lot more. So I'm not really surprised that we're seeing that.
We've surrounded ourselves essentially here at Team Sorceress with probably the best talent in the world. And knowing that, they were making premeditated guesses as to hedging their bets, if you will.
Yeah.
And they're already like 9 steps ahead of what's going to happen. I was just riding along, and I've never had this much production in 2 days, as hard as I worked on any project. So it's like I'm still trying to reap what that all is. And he's already got more in store for us. So I have to say that I've never been involved with anything to do with motorsports that has been a definitive answer. This is what you're going to get. This is what's going to happen. It seems like ever since like when I'm 16 years old, you buy your first pulley that increases 15 horsepower, and you just bolt on your motor, and it's going to go that much faster. The disappointment and nothing actually happened. One of those things, you read another article, and then you get this. It's always been about disappointment. It's always been opinions. It's always been this. I think this is actually the first time that we've done something. There's meat on the bone. There's facts right there. And to prove it up, I'll prove to you what's going to happen next, because I have the data and it's calculated what's going to happen next, and that's exactly what happened. And I'm just really, really at a loss for how important this is, because I can't pick the words, but it's going to be huge, you guys. Huge.
But I think all that happened because we started with a logical plan and we went step by step and executed that plan, right? And part of that's from experience. We kind of already knew when you guys got here, we'd been talking about this for months.
Yes.
And I kept saying, Rod, this is what I think you're going to see based on what I'm looking at and based on the other experience. So when we got here, we bolted the thing on and we kind of did our first little capture and got data. It was like, yeah, it's pretty ugly, you know. And so then the challenge was, can we fix it? Can we make it better? And the answer is a resounding yes, no problem, right? And we have not even yet begun to make all of the changes that we have in store that will make this thing just lights out better. We're going to take this 640 cubic inch 5.3 bore space Pro Mod engine and turn it into a NASCAR engine. So if you want to do some, you know, standing mile stuff and go down to Texas 2K with it, I think you should be able to do that. And so
that's interesting. Maybe we should do some of that.
Yeah, I don't think you need to limit yourself to a 5.5 second run and then have to change parts. We're going to have this thing, not only have we already gained, 1,500 RPM or something? We previously could only go around 7,800, maybe 8,000. It would start chucking stuff off of it. Now my goal is I want to go higher and I want to go longer. And we already have the new plan in place to do that. So we're going to execute that plan the same way as we did before.
As you recall through these videos, you'll see in there where we're utilizing the engine is between 6,000 and 8,000 some odd RPMs. We've seen a lot of difficulties already at 6,200 RPM. It wasn't at all, you know, hey, that, you know, like when Ben says turn the NASCAR engine, our purpose isn't to see if it'll go to 9,500. It's just a check and balance that if it's happy at 9,500, I probably guarantee it's happy throughout the day, and he's got the proof, and it is. Mm-hmm. It sounds sweet when you're in the dining room. It doesn't sound clanky. It doesn't sound anything like that. And I think I'm going to go back to what I've always learned is like you can tell when a motor's happy. It sounds happy, and it generally is. And that sounded like a happy motor in there.
So, Rod, were you surprised by the noise that the engine makes with no combustion? Like no pistons, no fuel, no spark plugs?
It essentially sounds almost safe. So it's like valvetrain noise. But it's a sweetness. It was like a lot of clunky parts and then like you're scared to go. It's like, okay, please end it now. Now it's like, oh, sit there and hold it. This is really cool.
It's a symphony now.
It literally is a symphony. And I think it's because things aren't banging into each other, essentially. And we've seen how the valve is crashing, bouncing off the seat and hitting it again. We know that the rock arms were crashing on it. We know a lot of that stuff. So I think I know where a lot of the noises
where we had a lot of physical real dissonance before in the engine, we now have harmony. We have a system of parts that are working together in unison, so they just make a nice sound instead of a clangy noise that it was doing before.
Yeah, we like nice sounds.
So you know what's interesting about that? That means that realistically, if we were smart enough, we could have just listened to the engine before and kept changing parts till we got it right. We didn't need all this fancy equipment in there.
Oh, yeah. When you said when we planned all this stuff, that started that day in Las Vegas saying, listen, if we go slow, we can methodically make the next step and next improvement. And along the way right there, Ben knew all the people to call already because he's seen scenarios like this happen before. I didn't know, and I wasn't skeptical at all. I just knew that patience was the one thing I needed to provide for Ben. To say, hey, listen, just unpack it, whatever it takes for time, because we're not in a hurry to go out there and do the same old thing we've been doing for years. And the patience paid off. It's been 6 or 7 months, and I'm the happiest guy on the planet right now. This is really fun. Thank you so much for all that.
You're welcome. I'm really glad that you took a chance on the one guy that was saying something different from what everybody else was saying,
and still saying,
and B, that it actually worked out, and you're thrilled with the results, and it's really, really rewarding to have that happen.
Oh, well, I'm glad that you're feeling the energy that I'm giving here because it's really special and it's exciting. So
the icing on the cake is going to be when our friends at Jessel knock it out of the park with a one-piece rocker stand, and we'll probably move the ratios around, or we'll probably move the materials around. This thing is just going to be lights out. I mean, it's going to be game over for your valve train problems.
Okay, everybody, you heard it. That is going to be so exciting. Maybe we all can come to one good event where we debut it and try it out.
Yeah.
Have a good party, yeah. Well, yes. So thanks for watching all along. Thanks all your support because it does make a difference. Input. A lot of smart people out there watching us.
And it's really cool to find out from people that they're watching. You see them make comments, they send you emails or texts, and they tell you how much they appreciate what you're doing. mainly because you're sharing stuff that not everybody shares, and so I think people really resonate with that.
I do, and I wish I had that when I was going through it. All I had was magazines, and whatever they wanted to print, I was soaking it up. And I think we're all stuck to that. If it's in print, it must be the gospel of truth.
Yep.
And that was me for sure.
So now we're on the leading edge rather than the trailing edge.
There you go. Maybe we can write some articles. Huh?
Maybe.
Thanks, everybody.
See you later.